6-1.
BBC Upload.
BBC Upload.
And this is the poem that triggered the idea for the Quiz of the Week this week about the Beatles from Steve Peters. And as always, Steve manages to delegate, nearly always anyway, delegate the reading of the poetry to someone nearby. And this week, we've got to know her quite well, haven't we, over the months. It's Celia Davies.
The Beatles. I've got to admit to mixed feelings about being around when the Beatles emerged. It was more about image and language and lifestyle than music, which got quite submerged. On the downside, to have had this experience means we're about 80 years old, but beats the alternative, unless we see the assistant dying law unfold. But was their music revolutionary? No. They brought very little that's new. 6 major record labels turned them down, including Woolworths. This is true. George Martin, their worthy mentor on first hearing, described them as bodily waste. But their charisma when playing the Cavern told him, don't reject them in haste. Their early tracks featured harmonica. Lots of records did back then on the scene, inspired by people like Tommy Riley at the start of Dixon of Dock Green. The Beatles played Brill building copies and ersatz 1950s rock and roll stuff. Some folk claim early Beatles songs were ghost-written in New York, their own songs too rough. But by Sgt. Pepper, their songs had matured to 7-chord progressions, no less. Similar to, yes, we have no bananas, as cultured as that, oh yes. And songs like Walrus, Piggies and Octopus. Not that original, no. A bit like The Owl and the Pussycat, what Edward Lear wrote in 1870. Well, Macca was an average singer and player, but wrote songs could thrill us to bits. Assertive Lennon, without too much talent, a role model for all misfits. Harrison was kept out of the limelight for fear he might appear the best. Starkey, a drummer on the local scene, well known before all the rest. After their breakup, they all released albums, some good, the occasional bummer. Paul, super talented. John, he was not. George, the most talented one of the lot. And Ringo Starr, he was the drummer.
There we go. It's the Beatles, written by Steve Peters and performed there brilliantly as always by the wonderful Celia Davies.